Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Silent Hour Stories, where every midnight hides a tale. I'm your host, Skull. Before we begin, do something for me. Glance at the nearest doorway. If you catch yourself waiting for something to pass by, you might already know tonight's theme. Tonight's episode is called Things That Should Not Be There. 3 true encounters, gathered from the internet's echoing hallways. People who swear they lived through what you're about to hear. He moved in for the quiet. Ground floor rental. Old building that tried to hide its age with fresh paint and cheap blinds. His landlord called the place buttoned up tight. He liked that phrase. It sounded like sleep. The kind of sleep a person gets after the last bad year of their life finally lets go. The first sound came on his second night. A small metallic tap from the kitchen. He lay still and listened. One tap, another. Then silence so complete it made his heartbeat sound obnoxious, like a neighbor practicing drums through the wall. He told himself it was a pipe. He told himself it was the ice maker. He told himself 100 kindly lies you tell a house when you're negotiating peace. In the morning, he found his pantry neat. Neater than he left it. The dry pasta boxes were arranged by height. The cans were pyramids with labels facing out, a grocery store soldier review. He had no memory of doing it. He took a photo to prove to himself it was funny and harmless, then deleted the photo because it didn't feel funny at all. That night, he wedged a chair under his bedroom door, not because he thought he needed to, but because anxiety loves rituals. He fell asleep staring at the chair back, telling himself grown adults don't booby-trap their bedrooms. At 12:17, a soft pressure nudged his dreams, a footfall where no one should be. He woke into the kind of silence that feels staged, like someone already pressed pause. Morning again. He made coffee, placed the mug logo forward on the counter because order felt like armor, and noticed a hairline scratch near the hallway closet ceiling. Paint, just a shade too white, had been brushed along the trim where a square panel sat. Flush almost, but not quite. The landlord had mentioned a crawl space. Never used it, he'd said, as if that settled anything. He stood on a chair and reached up. His fingers found a string and a thin seam of cold air. He pulled. The panel sighed down, and with it came a smell like dust that had learned to breathe. He lifted his phone and aimed the light into the void. The beam slid along beams and insulation, then caught on a flattened pillow. Snack wrappers, an empty water bottle, a phone charging cable with no phone. He stared until the truth felt silly and then, suddenly, not silly at all. He called the landlord. He called the police. He kept his voice reasonable because people believe reasonable men. Officers arrived and went methodically through every room. They checked the crawl space. They checked the basement. They pointed out the scuff marks that a knee might make sliding along beams. They pointed to the vent covers with tiny scratches, as if a coin had been used to twist them quietly open and closed. The officers didn't roll their eyes. They didn't laugh. That was the worst part. They were very, very professional. He slept with the light on. He slept in shoes. He slept inside a resolve that felt strong in daylight and soggy in the dark. At 3:03 a.m., the bathroom door clicked gently, almost politely. He didn't move. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is hold your breath and admit to yourself what you already know. The doorknob turned a fraction, then gave up. Footsteps retreated down the hall. The back door eased, the latch making a soft sound like a person who has practiced leaving without a sound. The next morning, he found new evidence that no one wants. The dust pattern along the hallway baseboard interrupted by toes. He found the pantry, again, restored to magazine neatness, except for one small can of peaches left on its side at the front of the shelf. He can still tell you the exact angle it lay at. He can still tell you how long he stared at that can, throat tight, trying to hear the message. Was it a threat? Was it a joke? Was it a kindness from something that needed him to know it could be kind? The landlord changed the locks. The landlord added a second lock. The police added a patrol pass. He added motion lights and a door wedge that would make a medieval gate proud. And for a while, nothing happened. The silence came back. He hated it. He loved it. Then one late afternoon, he came home and smelled something faint and wrong. Just the barest trace of a person's shampoo in a place where only one person should ever smell like a person. He didn't move. He stood in the doorway and looked at the living room with a slow hunger for the smallest mistake. The rug was straight. The couch cushion looked unpressed. The TV remote sat where he'd left it, aligned with the edge of the coffee table. The only sign was almost nothing. A chair leg, a thumb's width off its scuff mark. He waited. He listened to the house breathe. He spoke a sentence to the empty room as calmly as he could. "I know you're here." He didn't add anything else. He let the sentence hang like a net. Maybe it caught, maybe it didn't. The patrols continued for a few weeks, then stopped. He installed an attic hatch lock. He moved out 2 months later, inventing good reasons for a decision that only needs one. There's a kind of haunting that doesn't care about death or ghosts or any of the old words that make scary things feel tidy. There's a kind of haunting that has bones and fingernails and breath that fogs glass. He doesn't tell this story to scare you. He tells it so you'll check your attic latch. If the paint is very new in a very old house, ask why. If your pantry displays itself like a store, ask who it's trying to impress. Sometimes a home is a container. Sometimes it's a corridor. And sometimes it's a shared address you never signed. She had a stalker, years of one. Not the movie kind with vanishing photographs and dramatic chases. The real kind, the steady, patient pressure of a gaze that learns your schedule like a song and hums it under its breath. Without proof, people tell you to calm down. With proof, people tell you to move. Neither answer feels like a life. She did what thousands do when reality gets slippery. She collected dates, times, street corners, license plates, partial but useful. She learned which screenshots matter in court and which ones just make you look frantic. One loud night of lonely courage, she posted her story online. She wasn't looking for fame. She was looking for witnesses. There's a difference. The thread filled fast. Kindness from strangers is a strange medicine, but it works. People offered advice that was both obvious and necessary when you're tired. Change your routes. Vary your times. Tell your neighbors. File the reports, even when the reports feel silly. She slept for the first time in weeks, a 3-hour slab of dreamless dark that felt like a gift wrapped in tape. Morning brought a new comment from a new account. The username had a private joke folded into it, the kind of joke only one person would ever make. The message wasn't vile, it was worse. It quoted a detail from an apartment she'd left 2 addresses ago. Then it asked why she had left out the best part. Attached was a photo taken through the window of the cafe where she'd written the post. The angle suggested a parked car. The reflection in the glass caught the faint backward print of a street sign. The timestamp matched the time she hit post. She didn't respond. She didn't go quiet either. She took screenshots and filed a report. This time the officer didn't blink. This time the officer saw a breadcrumb. The sign reflected backward in the glass. The small, unique chip in the cafe window that could be matched to a particular table. Specifics make stories become cases. She updated her post with care. Facts only. A scan of the report number with the sensitive bits covered. She wasn't asking the internet to fix it. She was asking the internet to watch. That's not the same thing. A neighbor who'd never spoken more than a hello knocked on her door that evening and offered to trade parking spaces so her car would sit under their camera instead of under the big, friendly tree. Someone she didn't know dropped off motion lights. A commenter with a verified law background explained how to request certain patrol checks without sounding like you were asking for the moon. None of it solved it. All of it changed it. The messages didn't stop. but they changed color. They came at odd hours in clumps, as if the sender had to borrow courage in short bursts. The car that used to idle with its lights off shifted to a different block. A cruiser parked casually at the corner a few nights in a row, and sometimes the only tool you need is a set of headlights that belong to someone else. Weeks turned into the kind of quiet that makes you nervous to celebrate. She didn't relax. She did soften around the edges. She learned that attention isn't safety. Witnesses are. Sometimes the only real safety you get is a community of eyes. If you're living inside a story that feels suspicious of your own instincts, ask for witnesses. Ask loudly. If you are a neighbor, be one. You cannot fix strangers. You can do something simpler. You can be proof that they aren't alone. They bought the house because it felt honest, modest, bright, the kind of place you describe with words like starter and cozy and good bones said without irony. They spent an entire Saturday painting the hallway a color with a name like soft linen or pale river, then stepped back to admire their work. That's when they noticed the first strange thing. In the reflection of the dark TV screen, a figure stood at the mouth of the hallway. Tall, not quite touching the ceiling. Head angled slightly, the way people tilt their heads when they're trying not to be caught looking. They turned around fast, heart kicking, and of course the hallway was empty. They laughed. Of course they laughed. That's how you buy yourself 10 seconds of normal. It kept to thresholds, doorways, archways. The top stair like a person who can't decide if going up is ruder than going down. It never entered the room. It never spoke. If you blinked, it seemed to steal an inch or the world seemed to give one. They couldn't tell which. They built small rules to manage big fear. Feet stayed tucked under the duvet no matter how hot the night got. Nobody looked too long at the bathroom door after midnight. Guests noticed without being told. Weird. Thought someone just walked by, a friend said, then laughed, then didn't. The dog refused the hallway after dusk, stiffening and planting his paws like a cartoon mule. The child, who believed in more things than adults are allowed to, started adding extra dark pencil lines to door frames in his drawings, thick as if a doorway needed reinforcement, the way a knee needs a brace. They did what modern people do with old problems. They searched. The internet gave them a vocabulary, shadow people, residuals, inhuman shapes that mimic humans like a parrot mimics speech. Skeptics were polite and very sure. Believers were intense and very sure. None of it mattered at 3:11 a.m. when the bathroom doorway felt like a mouth and the air at the top of the stairs felt like breath on the back of a neck. A relative suggested boundaries, not just salt and old prayers, though they tried those too, more because rituals give good shape to panic than because anyone expected chemistry to change. The relative said to say it out loud, in ordinary language, as if talking to a rude guest. This is our home. You are not welcome past the threshold. You can be seen, but you cannot come in. Sometimes the right words are plain. Sometimes authority sounds like decency said firmly. Maybe that did it. Maybe it was something else. Maybe the figure was never anything but a mirror for a fear they dragged with them from a worse apartment in a worse year. The last night they remember seeing it, the hallway looked exactly like a hallway. The air was ordinary air. The door frames were just wood and paint, and the memory of small hands pressing a crayon too hard. The dog yawned and walked to the bedroom without negotiation. They didn't cheer. You don't cheer the end of a haunting. You watch, and you keep watching, and you let time do its weathering until the thing that scared you is only a story that still lifts the hairs on your arms, but only a little. Most hauntings don't want you gone. They want you to notice. That's not comfort, it's a rule. If you must look, look on your terms. Announce yourself at your own doorway. Call your rooms by their names. Say goodnight to the hall. You're not talking to the dark. You're teaching the dark to answer to you. The silent hour fades, but the stories remain. If tonight's tales found you, if you caught yourself checking the ceiling line for the attic hatch, or glancing at your window for a reflection that isn't yours, like, share, and subscribe to Silent Hour Stories. Drop your own encounter in the comments, or link to a story that still makes your doorway feel too wide. Tell me this, what scares you more? The intruder you can catch, or the watcher that never crosses the line? If this episode gave you that someone's on the landing feeling, hit subscribe. Stay a while and obey the rules, or leave while you can. And if you have a story of your own, send it in. I'll be here, counting doorways.